What's going on YouTube? It's Tej, back again with another video, and today I'm giving you my Week 13 NFL Power Rankings. Gonna have to work quick through this one, but hopefully you all enjoy today's video. If you do, hit that like button, it would help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, want to see more sports content, more football content in your life, hit that big red subscribe button and comment your Power Rankings down in the comment section. Who's your favorite team? Where do you think they should be in the mix? Do I have them too high? Do I have them too low? Love to talk some football with you down in the comment section. Let's jump right into it. Lions and Jags are staying put at 32-31 respectively. They feel like the two worst teams in the NFL right now. Jets move up a spot, and they knock the Texans down a spot after they beat them this past week. A little surprised with that outcome. Zach Wilson still didn't play great, but did enough to help them win. And really, it was the Jets defense making some big plays. John Franklin Myers, a lot of Jets fans hype on him, and he played really well this past week, and he was a big part of the difference. Bears down a spot. They're at 28. They got the win against the Lions, but because of other movement on the board, they are down a spot, and it was pretty ugly. And it's just like the Steelers when they tied the Lions. When it's hard to tell who's worse, that's not a good thing for your team. Seattle Seahawks are down 4 spots, and I know Russell Wilson was back last night, and got out to a decent start, made some big throws to Tyler Lockett early, but then the offense went back into its shell, and outside of Russ and those two wide receivers, man, this team was just devoid of talent. It's just a really tough team to watch play football. Bobby Wagner does his thing. Jamal Adams was all over the field last night, but outside of a handful of players, this is just not a good roster. And you lose to a Washington football team that's playing really well, but I think this might be the end of the Russ era. I'm starting to buy into him potentially being on the move this offseason, and they're really playing some bad football over the last couple of weeks. Giants are up a couple spots. They're now at number 26. Still not necessarily a great team, but they are giving people some things to think about, right? A division win after they get rid of their offensive coordinator. I don't think Freddie Kitchens did a great job, but, keeps Joe Judge in the back of your mind. Maybe he's somebody who sticks around for another year. Maybe it's like Houston and Bill O'Brien where the coach stays and maybe he assumes more a bigger role in the front office. We'll see. He might just be canned as well. Time will tell, but at least this Giants team's showing they have some fight. Falcons are up a spot. Overall, I've kind of liked watching them the past couple of weeks, right? Like, the offense, outside of the Thursday night game against New England, that was rough, but overall, the offense still has some big play nature to it. Even without Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts didn't have to go crazy this week. Really, it's Cordero Patterson. They've tapped into this fantastic football player, right? They use him as a weapon, not just a wide receiver, not just running back. He does a little bit of everything in a couple big plays, and the defense continues to get better. That defense has come a long way compared to where it was a couple of years ago. And on to team number 24, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. They really let me down. I thought this was an easy layup win. You put yourself right in the playoff conversation. Honestly, you might have been in the playoffs considering now Washington football team, who we'll talk about next, has the 7th seed. So a big missed opportunity there for Philadelphia. The offense just has those weeks where they don't look right, and this past Sunday was definitely one of them where they just look painful trying to move the football, and Jalen Hurts doesn't throw it all that well. The running game's not super efficient, so give credit to Patrick Graham and the Giants defense. They came up with, an awesome game plan. I know the Eagles are still ahead of the Giants, even though they lost. I know a lot of people are going to tell me that's not how that should work. Well, it's about more than just this past week. These two teams will play each other again in a couple weeks' time, and overall, the resume is a little bit more impressive for the Eagles, at least in my eyes, over the Giants. Washington football team, just mentioned, now the 7th seed in the NFC. Them and the Dolphins here, 23 and 22. You got to start thinking about them as playoff contenders, right? Both have good defenses. You like their coaches. Two different, trees, but two good leaders of men and two good defensive minds overall. And over the last couple of weeks, they're getting good quarterback play, right? Tua has done enough to not lose games, and he's done enough to overcome that terrible offensive line in front of him. And plus, the emergence of Jalen Waddle has been a big plus. And for Washington, Taylor Heinicke is giving you some good football. He hasn't been anything extra crazy like he was last night. 2 weeks ago, you could say, 3 touchdowns, only 6 incompletions. He looked really good there. That's definitely the high end of his variance, but over the past couple weeks overall, he's done enough to help win football games and avoid losses, and then the defense is starting to be what we thought it would be coming into this year. So the Dolphins, Washington football team certainly hitting their strides, and now certainly in the playoff conversation, as is the Denver Broncos. Give credit to Vic Fangio and Teddy Bridgewater. When they've had Teddy B and they've had Jerry Jeudy, the offense doesn't look terrible. I'm still not crazy about Pat Shurmur as an offensive coordinator, but there's enough weapons to make Teddy Bridgewater competent. And the defense, despite losing Von Miller, still playing good football. So if you're a Broncos fan, I think you keep Vic Fangio at this point, and you try to find a quarterback, let them be a part of the conversation to hire an offensive coordinator. And then I think this team is right there in the thick of it in the AFC. Pittsburgh Steelers and the Carolina Panthers both down a spot, both hampered by bad quarterback play this past week. I think Cam Newton does present a little bit better play down the line compared to Big Ben at least. But two teams with solid defenses, but when it's that painful of an offense to watch, you stop watching, honestly. I mean, I'm a Steelers fan, but the second half was certainly hard to watch, and I'm sure if you're a Panthers fan, you were saying the same thing against Miami this week. So two teams that feel very similar in a lot of ways, therefore I put them right next to one another. Saints just edge out Carolina and Pittsburgh, but I could see the argument that you reshuffle this, and honestly, I could see an argument you can see off these arrows. The Broncos, the Dolphins, and Washington have been ascending. The Saints, Panthers, and Steelers have been descending. I'm sure if that trend continues next week, you'll start to see this screen change a whole lot. The Saints is just not good enough with Trevor Siemian. They've already announced that Taysom Hill is going to be starting on Thursday. I am intrigued by what that looks like, but yeah, it's just not pretty with Siemian. You're down Kamara, your tackles are hurt, defense is super thin as is. It's just a tough scene, and Sean Payton's done a lot to keep that team competitive. The fact they were even in the playoff mix after Jameis Winston went down was really impressive for Sean Payton. But now I think you're starting to see this team find its true footing within the NFL. And then the Browns stay at 17. I think this is 3 consecutive power rankings. I've had them stay right here. I don't know what to make of this team. They're super confusing. Baker Mayfield's unbelievably inaccurate right now. You got to think part of that, a good part of it to me, is due to those injuries that he's playing through. So do you consider playing Case Keenum? I don't know. I posed this question last week. I don't know. It's a tough spot because this team's in a playoff hunt, right? So do you play your backup quarterback? Yeah, most of the time you'd say no, but when your starter's so hurt that he's worse than your backup, it might be the best move. I don't know. It's super complicated, but the good news for the Browns, defense looked a whole lot better this past week. On to the top half of the power ranks, the Raiders. How about that Thanksgiving win? I mean, that was a, hey, we're still in this type of W. Get it out onto the road. I know that game had a whole lot of officiating, or overly officiated, in my opinion, and some of the flags, including the PI late to set up the game-winning field goal. A little controversial there, but Raiders showed fight. Whether we're talking about the winner or if you think they should lose, they showed a lot of fight. They showed a lot of grit, and I think they put themselves right back into the playoff conversation. And the big thing is Deshaun Jackson has proven that he can be that Henry Ruggs role. Now it just comes down, can he stay healthy? Can he stay on the field the rest of the year? Because if he does, you see what that offense is capable of. They just need that big play element and that guy to have defenses respect the over-top ability that this offense can play with. Therefore, it opens up Darren Waller. Hopefully, he's back pretty soon. Brian Edwards and Hunter Renfrow in specific. Renfrow has been balling. So the defense did enough, made some plays, and Max Crosby continues to be one of the best players in football right now. So Raiders, big win. I got them back in the top 16. Titans are down 8 spots, and this is going to be one of those things where until I see the dudes coming back, right, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and maybe Derrick Henry once we get to the playoffs, I'm out on this team because it's just Ryan Tannehill can only do so much. I think he's a really good quarterback, but with that battle weapons around him, there's only so much you can really do about it, right? So I don't see the offense really taking flight. The defense has been pretty impressive, though. So they stay in this, top half of the league conversation. But I'm starting to fade the Titans really soon. The good news is you'll have Julio Jones back in a week or two's time, and A.J. Brown could play this upcoming weekend. So you're starting to get the guys back. And, of course, like I said, Derrick Henry could play once we get to the playoffs. So that's always a big plus as well. Vikings stay pat at 14. Disappointing loss to San Francisco, but I still like them a little bit more than Tennessee and the Raiders, so that's why they're staying here. And instead, now it's the 49ers leapfrogging up to 13. That was a big win, right? And Deebo Samuel, same thing we talked about Cordero Patterson, just being a dynamic football player. I love how Kyle Shanahan has used him in that offense. It's been really fun to watch. And Jimmy Garoppolo continues to play good enough football. Now, I think they are waiting for Jimmy G to have a bad game so they can put Trey Lance in, and then that offense might be even scarier. We'll see, but they're getting good play from Garoppolo. Samuel's making big plays. George Kittle back in the lineup as well. And the defense playing really, really well overall. I don't want to say really, really well, but playing better, I think, at this point of the year than where they were at the onset of the season. So 49ers, one of those teams that's starting to get hot at the right time. The Colts have them staying at 12. You play Tampa Bay down to a one-score game, and to try to slow down the rushing attack. Vita Vea loses a tooth, right? Like, you gave Tampa Bay literally everything you had. They had to forfeit a tooth to try to slow down that offense and come up short in this one, but they showed a whole lot of grit. Now it's going to get tough because they needed that game. Now they're also going to play the Bills, and it would have been great if you could have had one of those two games. Doesn't feel like they'll win the division, but they're playing good football going into the playoffs, so I like what I'm seeing from the Colts right now. Bengals up 2 spots. They're at Cincinnati. I mean, they dogged Pittsburgh, right? And it was a complete showing. Joe Mixon looked great when they did pass the ball. Burrow looked fantastic. T. Higgins was winning a lot. That's a good sign for a Bengals fan. So on top of the defense making plays, right? Like Mike Hilton getting a pick six against his former team. It's poetry in motion. So definitely a big win there for Cincinnati, and one to put them right back into the conversation of one of the best teams in the AFC in my eyes. Chargers up a spot. Again, I think they're right there in the mix, and you'll see this cluster of AFC teams: Colts, Bengals, Chargers, Bills, and it continues on the next screen. Talking about the Bills, big win on Thursday night on Thanksgiving. And it's not just to beat the Saints, because I think we all agree the Saints are a little too injury-riddled, try to keep up with the talent of the Bills, but they blew past them. It wasn't even a game that was a close one, after the first quarter and a half, right? Like the Bills asserted themselves from early on and just pulled away as the game continues. So I do like that trait that this Bills team has, is they will dog teams that they should dog, with the exception of the Jacksonville Jaguars. But they still got to win some of those games where they're playing evenly matched opponents and they're tight down the wire. The Bills still got to find ways to win those types of games. And now for the top 8 teams. I actually lied to you. There's an NFC team. Then we get back to another AFC team. But the Cowboys down 3 spots. Again, it's a tough loss to the Raiders, and maybe officiating cost you that game. I'll let you make that argument, but the defense hasn't been as great over the past couple of weeks, and I do worry about what this offense looks like without CeeDee Lamb and without Amari Cooper. Now, the good news is both those guys should be back pretty soon, and it doesn't look like season-ending, anything for them. Amari Cooper with COVID, and CeeDee Lamb still battling the concussion, had to leave Thursday night, et cetera, et cetera. So you do plan on having those guys back, which will make this offense just as potent as it was at the beginning of the year. So still like Dallas a whole lot, but definitely hit a bump in the road, which is going to happen. You play 17 games. They're not all going to be pretty. Kansas City up a spot. They're now at number 7. Still not playing the best Kansas City football, right? But the offense is doing enough, and the defense has taken a huge step forward. So give credit to Kansas City. They're actually moving up despite being on a bye week this week. Them and the Cardinals, the only 2 teams on a bye this past Sunday. So a little bit of help with how the board has shaken out. The Chiefs actually move up a spot. And the LA Rams are down 3 spots. I mean, I picked them to go into Green Bay and win. They're coming off the bye week, and now it's 3 consecutive losses all told. So the Rams offense still has a lot to figure out, right? Like, I think people are starting to realize how big of a part of the offense that Robert Woods is. And Robert Woods is just better than OBJ. So I think it's easy to say, OBJ is just your Robert Woods replacement, but he's just not as good. And I don't think he can play the same type of role that Robert Woods does. And the defense, has stymied a little bit. I think Von Miller and Aaron Donald started to win late in the game against Green Bay. But overall, this team just feels like they're one step away from being a complete picture on both sides of the ball. It feels like the defense is playing good, but not quite as good as they were last year, despite adding Von Miller to trade deadline. In the offense, you see moments of it, but it's never for a full game. So they just feel like they're a step in the sequence away from being a really, really good football team. But I mean, it's been a big conversation around the NFL. They're undefeated against teams under 500, but struggle to beat teams above it. So that's a tough trade for Stafford and the Rams to try to knock off. So if you're a Rams fan, obviously hoping that does change. But I'm starting to fade the Rams here pretty quickly. Patriots in the top 5. Now I do this every week, and I'm not quick to big movements. And I saw some people had the Patriots in their top 5 last week. I don't think they stay here for much longer. We'll see when they play the Bills. That's a big statement game, right? Division rival, 2 of the best teams in the AFC. That could solidify them here in the top 5, or it could just knock them right back down to 12 or something like that. So big weeks up ahead for the Patriots, but the defense has been fantastic, and the offense has been so efficient. They can run the football behind that offensive line. And Mac Jones hasn't been asked to do a whole lot, but even the games where he's had to make some big throws, you've seen it from him. And even this past week, he had some really pretty passes to Kendrick Bourne for touchdowns. So they're finding ways to win in different ways on the offensive side, and then they're anchored by the defense. So I think this team has a really sound recipe, right? Like, this feels like a team that should win 12 to 13 games in the regular season, because they're tough to beat, because they can win in so many different ways. The real question is going to be, can this team actually win a playoff game, though? They can do it all in the regular season, but what does this team look like once we get to the postseason? It does help having one of the greatest coaches of all time in Bill Belichick, that's for sure. Baltimore Ravens up 2 spots, are now in the top 4. And ultimately, I think the Ravens might be my pick to win the AFC, because when you simplify the game and you look at the Ravens and just make it a game of 10 yards, right? Can you stop them from getting a first down? How do you do that against Lamar Jackson? Like, I know it wasn't pretty against the Browns on Sunday Night Football, but when you just shrink the game down to just 10-yard increments, this offense is so hard to slow down, even without J.K. Dobbins and, the running back core that they have right now not being fantastic. Lamar Jackson wasn't a great passer this past weekend, but he's still showing you flashes that you have to respect. Him and Hollywood Brown's connection. Rashad Bateman is somebody who makes plays up the middle field. Mark Ingram's been fantastic all year long. And then you add in the rush element. I think the Ravens are just a tough team to try to stop from getting 10 yards. And when you think about it that way, when you simplify it that much, I give a whole lot of respect to Baltimore. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat once you get into the playoffs, and every sequence matters that much more. So I'm intrigued by Baltimore. Right now, I think they would be my pick to win the AFC. Bucks up a spot. They're at number 3. They looked really good this past week, and a tough game and a gritty game. I mean, the Colts gave them just about everything they could offer, and like I said earlier, it cost Vita Vea a 2 trying to stop that rushing attack for Indy. But hey, that's a win to get back on track and solidify that you are a serious Super Bowl contender for Tampa Bay. So obviously things looking up for the Buccaneers, and the top 2 stay the same. The Packers are at 2, Cardinals at 1. Cardinals were on the bye. They've only lost 1 game with Kyler Murray under center. That's uber impressive. The Packers have only lost 2 with Aaron Rodgers under center, and one of them was a shootout last week against Minnesota. So like where both these teams are at, Joe Barry's done a fantastic job coaching up that defense for Green Bay, and they're still doing it without Zadarius Smith and Jair Alexander. That's unbelievably impressive. And the offense just finds those timely moments to make big plays. Devontae Adams, despite getting double coverage and somebody's always following him around, and he's got the safety over top naturally trying to help out that corner, he just finds ways to get open, and Rodgers finds them, and they move the chains and they get those chunk plays. So give credit to Green Bay, but man, I hope them and Arizona can see each other and they get to the playoffs, because that would be a really fun matchup to see for a second time. But that is going to do it for my Week 13 NFL Power Rankings. Tell me what you think down in the comment section. Who's your favorite team? Where do you think they fit in the mix? Who do I have too high? Who do I have too low? Love to talk some football with you down in the comment section. Hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel and want to see more football content, hit that big red subscribe button. Till next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.